Tuesday night Krug show. Raj is in the house, and we have a special guest. Oh, let's go. Krug show on a Tuesday night. Raj is in the house. Fire up the band. Little congested, but no days off. No days off. No days off. Well, welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, where we were on Sunday for the Krug Show meet and greet. Thank you to all the people who showed up. It was an incredible day, incredible Sunday, watching football, eating barbecue, hanging out. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to all of you. It was a wonderful day. It was great to meet all of you. So, man, that was really, really cool. About 100 people showed up over the course of the whole day. Some people came from San Diego. One guy came from Seattle. I was like, bro, unbelievable. So a lot of cool people, and it was fun. So we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. Emeryville, Corte Madera, soon to open in Petaluma. Thanks to them. Thanks to Damon and Mary, the owners of Pig and a Pickle, for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Also, thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Habbas Law. We'll get to them in a bit. Thanks to our friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Courtesy of Anthony Catania, we gave away the Ricky Pearsall autographed mini helmet at the Krug Show meet and greet to one lucky fan. It went over well. But Raj and I go every Tuesday night, and Raj, great to see you. And you know what? Last stream we discovered that we both. I asked you about a certain guy, Akash, and you said, I know Akash. Akash is my guy. I said, oh well, let's bring Akash on.
Hey,
We've had Akash on before, but he's back. Akash, who's a great Niner content creator as well, and he's going to join us for a little bit on the stream tonight. Akash, thanks for jumping in. See, I'm aware of you. You're aware of Raj, but I didn't realize that you and Raj were boys. And then Raj kind of scolded me about it. I felt bad. It was kind of ugly. It got kind of ugly. But seriously, thanks, man, for jumping in. How you been? And tell people for I assume everybody knows everybody, but Akash is a great follow on X and puts out a lot of great stuff and has his own stuff going on. So tell people about what you got going on. So if they're finding you here at the Krug Show, that they can go check you out and subscribe to you and follow you.
First off, good evening to everybody. Appreciate you for having me, Larry. Good to see you, Raj. Been writing for Bovada this past year, so been doing a little bit more sports gambling content with a 49ers angle. And as always, active on X. So that's where you can find me. I always enjoy talking Niners, especially when they're 9-4 and good like this season.
Well, of course, it's not. We're not the welcome wagon here, so we definitely don't. We don't just bask in their great Tony the Tiger takes. A lot of times, with me in charge, there's a negative slant, and I'm going to start right there. John Lynch went on with TK, Tim Kawakami, and talked about a number of different topics. Are you guys aware of this dialogue?
Yeah, I saw that.
One of the things that came up was, the Aiyuk situation. And I just feel like they're not really putting themselves out there to let us really ask them questions and follow up. They're picking select interviews, whether it be on flagship stations or with certain media people, and those people, for whatever reason, are not following up with any of these questions. He's staying with the, hey, you know what? We hope this ends well, and Aiyuk, we hope he's back, and this. What is going on here? I used to feel like the Niners spoke in this regime in one voice. This is really the very first time I feel like it seems like we're getting two different camps here. It's like the ownership got their money back, maybe with Parag and Jed, and they seem to be with John and Kyle, but now it sounds like John and Kyle are open-minded to Aiyuk coming back. Or are they? Is this just something you say? There's that show on ESPN with Don Van Atto. It's called The Backstory. I kind of feel like they ought to do one here. Like, what is the backstory on Aiyuk? Why don't we start there? What do you think, Akash?
I wish we knew what the full story was, what happened in the summer, what happened in July, right? Because there was a stretch of time where Brandon Aiyuk was practicing. The media who was there at training camp or even early on in the season got to see him kind of run routes. I think he was running some routes pre-game. And then he's just kind of vanished. He's kind of disappeared, hasn't really been in the public eye. You haven't really seen him at practice. You see some of the other injured guys at games, right? You see Nick Bosa, you see a Fred Warner sitting up in the box, but Brandon Ayuk's just been nowhere to be found. And so it's always been kind of weird. I know Kyle Shanahan gets asked about him every week, and he always says, like, when he's ready, we'll open up his practice window. But the situation just got a little bit weird with every passing week, just because it felt like Brandon Ayuk's, window was going to be open like somewhere in November. But then it just kept getting pushed back and back. And then obviously the article came out in The Athletic that Diana Rossini and Mike Silver put out, kind of outlining what the situation was. But I just think it's unfortunate that we've got to this point, because regardless of what you think of him, I think Brandon Ayuk's a fantastic receiver. Regardless of what you think of the contract, just to potentially not have him on the field the rest of the season or not just be a Niner moving forward is just a brutal situation. And, we've seen some crazy situations with this team, right? They had Jimmy Garoppolo practicing on a side field when we thought he was done for. Then he came back and won some games. And so we've seen crazy situations. So I never say never with this team, because just when you think, oh, Brandon Ayuk's out, he's done, they're going to trade him, they're going to cut him, they find a way to like fix these situations. And the next thing you know, he's catching balls. So I just kind of expect the unexpected with them. But it feels like he's not coming back this season, and then we'll see how it plays out.
Niners Friday the 13th, starring Brandon Aiyuk. He's dead. He's not dead. Raj, what's the end game here? Are they going to trade him? Are they going to release him? What do you guys think on this one? Raj, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple of options here. And at the end of the day, whatever happened. They're not going to tell us the specifics. Although, Rossini and Silver, they said what they said. Meetings, this and that. Kyle didn't really elaborate too much. Lynch didn't elaborate too much. They said, hey, look, meetings happen. Water under the bridge. When you miss those types of meetings, those are the rules. Those are the consequences. So they did it. But yeah, I feel like this is a weird season, just not just for the Niners, but in the NFL in general, right? People are getting hurt. You got Grandpa Phillip Rivers coming back to the NFL. Larry, this is the craziest NFL season.
Yes.
There's really no juggernaut. So I feel like the Niners are like, hey, if we can mend the fence just a little bit and you could come back and maybe help us out down the stretch, cool, great. It's going to give you some film on tape because you're not coming back next year. Bottom line, they voided the contract, right? I don't think Brandon Aiyuk's coming back. But, hey, at least maybe you can give him some film. Teams can see, he's still got a little bit of juice left in him. I mean, he's a good route runner. That's not going to change. So you scratch his back a little bit and say, hey, look, we're done, but we're going to give you a little parting gift as you go out, and maybe you can help us catch a few touchdowns in the playoffs. But it's a weird season. I don't think he'll come back. I think it's very small chance of him actually playing this year, but there's a small chance. And if you can get any type of edge in these playoffs, you take it. And I feel like that's where they're trying to keep the door open. You stay politically correct. John Lynch is saying all the nice things. And yeah, maybe they behind closed doors, they hate him. They're saying nasty things, but in front of his face, in front of the media, you're not going to say that terribly. Oh, Brad is a terrible guy. John Lynch is a nice guy. He knows what it takes to win. And sometimes you got to just burn bridges or not burn bridges. You got to shake hands, dust everything off. Maybe he can come back for a few games and help us win. Because at the end of the day, Larry, the end goal is to win a damn Super Bowl in Levi Stadium this year. So whatever it takes.
No doubt. Do you guys believe, because some people have stated it outright, I don't believe, by the way, but some people have stated it outright that Aiyuk is ready to play right now and he's just not playing. I don't think that. I saw him running whatever number of weeks ago it was, on the side next to the receivers a couple times on the field. And, it looked good for that, but there's a huge difference between that and playing receiver in the NFL and the stop and start and the torque, and it's tremendous torque. It's like if you're not 100% sound across the board, I don't see anybody holding up to the stop, the start, the turn. It's just it's the worst kind of job that you could possibly have to come back with a knee injury. What do you think, Akash? Do you think Aiyuk is ready and that they're just whatever keeping him out, or do you think he's not going to be ready? Do you think he's going to be traded, as Raj suggested? Do you think he's going to be released? What do you see?
I think it's tough because his knee injury was probably the worst outcome you could have had, right? It's not just like a clean torn ACL, which has kind of become more routine, right? You know, in about 11, 12 months that player is going to come back. And even if their return to play is a little slow, you see them on the field, and usually the year after they return from that ACL, they're kind of back to normal. But with Brandon Aiyuk, it's like multiple ligaments in his knee was torn up. He had kind of like the worst case scenario. And if you remember, the swelling in his knee didn't go down for a couple of months after the injury. So his surgery on his knee, if I remember correctly, was like well after the actual injury occurred, because they were waiting for the swelling to go down. So I still feel like he's in that like ramp up mode, not quite ready to return to play. And I also think it's just a tough time to be, reintegrated back into this offense. I mean, there's 4 weeks left in the season. The 49ers are trying to make a push for the playoffs. Their offense seems to be a little bit more like cohesive over the last like 4 or 5 weeks since Purdy's returned, since George Kittle's returned. Their offensive line's been a little bit more cohesive. So I feel like it's just hard to like reintegrate at this point of the season. So like Raj was saying, if I had to guess, I would guess that they redshirt him this season, and then he's probably released in the offseason because they have voided his guarantees. That would be my guess on how this plays out. But like Raj was saying, if you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're John Lynch, publicly, you gotta maintain, a positive front here. You got to say, hey, we're waiting for him to come back. We're just waiting for, him to recover, because you got to make it look good to other potential, free agent wide receivers, other guys in the NFL. You got to make it, you got to kind of play the PR game a little bit. And so that's why I think they've kind of maintained the same, status. But I think Kyle Shanahan said it last week. Maybe it was like right after they beat the Browns that, he's not counting on Brandon Aiyuk returning. And if you read between the lines, that's Shanahan saying that he doesn't expect Brandon Aiyuk to be on the field this season.
It's interesting too. They signed Jayvon Baker today. They have Junior Bergen and Malik Turner on practice squad. And they have Cowing, who they say they may open his window. And then you've got all these receivers. Jennings is the only one who really does anything. And everybody else is just, not doing anything. DeMarcus Robinson had 7 touchdowns last year with the Rams. He doesn't have one. Ricky Pearsall doesn't have one. And he's doing very little. Kendrick Bourne had a couple good games. And then there's a dynamic. It just feels like Jennings is on some kind of contract drive. And I don't know if somebody, said something to somebody, but all of a sudden Bourne just is a total persona non grata. And I just feel like it has to be tied to JJ. Sky Moore has got some ability to run, but he's almost an exclusive special teamer. They obviously like Cowing because they talked him up. And he was a 4th round pick. Watkins was a 4th round pick. They both can run in the 4.3s. I just kind of feel like they need one other receiver and maybe 2 to really step up and shoulder the load. And, I like Juwan Jennings, don't get me wrong, but your best wide receiver can't be a 4.77 guy. It's like you got to have somebody who can run. And I just feel like right now we haven't seen that yet. So who do you guys think? I mean, give me two receivers that you think can, actually operate in 11 personnel if they go 11 personnel at any point in the regular season or the playoffs. Give me a couple of receivers that you believe can step up, because right now it's JJ and the JJets. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, these guys nobody's doing anything. And it could be because they're just not, Purdy's not going in, whatever. They're going to need to be a little bit more dynamic offensively if they're realistically going to make a run at winning this title, especially at beating teams like the Rams and Seahawks. And, so what do you think? Receiver wise, who do you like to step up? And I think you can make an argument for a lot of guys. You really could.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question, Larry. And I mean, I know you like Cowing, but I mean, he's had his hamstring pretty messed up all season since training camp. I think Matt Barrows has said something about 4 times he's kind of messed up that hamstring throughout the season. It's not good. I don't think the prospects of Jacob Cowing come back are too good, just like Brandon Aiyuk. And also Jordan Watkins. Like, what happened to him? He drafted this guy. I had high hopes for him in training camp. Me and you, we saw him every day at training camp, and we were like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a solid player." He just hasn't really integrated, and it's hard for wide receivers as rookies. I like Kendrick Bourne. He played good when he was called on this early in the season, but he was better with Mac Jones. He had that chemistry, and I feel like it's kind of messed up, but I feel like they're holding him out because he has that little money incentive. If he gets 18 more yards, he gets $500,000. Could be a little bit of that, but I do think Ricky Pearsall at some point has to break out. I mean, he's your former first-round pick. I feel like at some point, like he was really good at the beginning of the season, and then the injuries happen. I don't know how bad, he still may feel pain-wise because it was a PCL injury. It's not an easy one to come back from. But I do feel at some point Ricky Pearsall's gotta step up. I know you have Kittle and Chris McCaffrey who are great, but you're right. You need another guy or two. I think it's going to be Ricky Pearsall, and after that, honestly, you just throw somebody out there that might be able to stick. But I think it's going to be Ricky Pearsall. I can't tell you another receiver that's going to step up because it's hard to really predict who Brock's going to be throwing to every week.
Akash, who do you like?
This receiver room's interesting. Jayvon Jennings has been healthier the last couple of weeks. I know he's been kind of in the news for his trash talk on the field, but he actually has played better the last few weeks. Right, he had the whole contract dispute thing to start the year, and so I thought he had a slow start. He had a bunch of injuries. He was banged up. He seems a little healthier now, and it feels like we're getting like 2024 Jayvon Jennings, which again, not ideal if he's your like primary receiver, but as a 2 or a 3, he's outstanding, especially on third down and separating in man coverage. Ricky Pearsall, I thought was really, really, really good to start the season. He was one of the more efficient receivers. He was right up there if you look at like some of the yards per route run stats with like Jackson Smith and Njigba, but then had the PCL injury and he just quite hasn't been the same since. And I don't know if that's just same thing, like reintegrating into the offense, finding that chemistry with Purdy again, getting his time and getting his legs under him because it's been 2 or 3 games since he's returned. But I expect those guys to be the primary receivers in this offense. I know Kyle Shanahan likes Demarcus Robinson over Kendrick Bourne in that third wide receiver role. I know he trusts him a little bit more. I know Kendrick Bourne's snap count has kind of decreased, but I think he's taken that really positively. I think he's taken a more like vet leadership role within this room. I know his energy and his positivity has been really good for these guys with just kind of the turnover they've had in that room. So those would be my 2 guys, Pearsall and Jennings. Amidst, obviously Kittle and McCaffrey are going to get a ton of touches in this offense, but those guys are going to have to step up if this Niners offense is going to be a little bit more explosive, especially in the downfield passing game.
I'm going to go with Pearsall and Jordan Watkins. Now, I like Robinson. I think he's got some good rub route, red zone potential, goal line potential, and Bourne I think is really nice. But you said it. I mean, they lack they're not dynamic. They lack speed. They don't stretch the field. I think one of the reasons that CMC is struggling and had 10 games or whatever under 4 yards a carry is that they have no vertical. So when you have no vertical, there's more guys around the box. And it's when you get more guys around the box, it's hard to bust a 20-yard run. And they've had a hard time busting a 20-yard run. They're not getting explosives. They're not getting explosives in the pass game. They're not getting explosives in the run game. And to me, when the year gets long and the weather gets bad, man, you need to have quick strike ability, and you need explosiveness. And they need Pearsall, who runs in the 4.4s, and they need Watkins, who's even faster than that, to get the ball and to be a part of this thing. So I know it seems like, oh, no, Watkins, it's late already, and let's all just chalk up Watkins and think about 26. And I get that. But you got a big chunk of the year left if you really think about it. You got 4 games of the regular season. You got 4 more games potentially in the playoffs. You got almost a half a year of football ahead. And this kid was big time in the SEC. This guy had 9 touchdowns last year in the SEC. He runs in the 4.3. He's a good route runner. I've talked to him at his locker. He's ready. They just have kind of hesitant and reticent to get him out there. And I know there's a pecking order. There's egos, right? There's a lot of egos in this room. And that's a big part of it. But to me, it's Pearsall and Watkins are the 2 guys. If I say to you, weakest link, because there's the old saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link. if the Niners get, you could argue that we're not really seeing the Niners exposed because they're not playing anybody. They're playing Mercer, they're playing UC Davis. They're not playing the teams that they're going to be playing, the best teams of this league. At least that's the argument. I actually don't quite agree with that because the DVOA rankings of record show the Niners as the fourth toughest schedule this year.
Yeah.
So whatever, we can debate this all day and all night. But my point is just this. When push comes to shove and they get in against a really good team, Rams, maybe Bears in a couple weeks, maybe somebody else,
Green Bay.
Bay. What's going to be their Achilles heel? What's that team going to expose? What's that team going to be like? Oh Christ, we got this weakness we didn't realize. What do you think?
It's going to be their pass rush, and that they just don't have the talent up front, I think, to compete at the highest level. I mean, if you look at their numbers across the board, they're 32nd in sack rate, they're 31st in pressure rate, they're like 32nd in non-blitz pressure rate. Robert Saleh has been blitzing less ever since there was a game, I think earlier in the season, I forget which one, he blitzed more than he usually does and he got burned for it. And he's curbed the blitzing back, and they're just not generating any pressure. And I don't know where the solutions come from. I know Keon White, the addition at the trade deadline, he's come on. Cleveland Farrell had a couple sacks this past game. Hopefully Yetur Gross Matos comes back. He was their best interior pass rusher earlier on in the season, but that's going to be the weakness when you go up against a Matt Stafford, a Jordan Love, even a Sam Darnold. I feel like if you're not able to generate a pass rush, I think teams are just going to find a way to carve you up. And I don't think they've played explosive enough offenses in the last month to really expose that. I mean, they played Bryce Young, who turned the ball over, Shador in kind of a weird weather game in Cleveland. And the last good quarterback they played was the Rams, and they hung 40 on them. So it's the pass rush. I think ultimately that's going to limit how far this team goes in the playoffs. And I'm not sure there's like a schematic solution or something they can do. They lost their best player on the defensive line early on in the season, and there's just hard to replace that.
Yeah. What do you think, Raj? What do you see as the primary weakness? Because I mean that's one for sure. The pass rush, though. Cleve Farrell and Keon White, if they're in the chat right now, they may be saying, "Hey, don't forget about us over here. Yeah. We're balling." Keon White does look really good in this scheme, and Cleve Farrell is a dog. Let's be honest, Cleve Farrell's having the best stretch of his career. He's got 4 sacks in 4 games. His career high for sacks is 4.5 in 15 games. So he's, maybe, is he their Cody Ross for you Giants fans? If there aren't. Giants fan is a fan that roots for the San Francisco. Well, it's a long story. They're mostly extinct. But go ahead. What do you think, Raj? What do you see as the weakest link?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kosh is pretty spot on about D-line. Me and you have talked about that dating back to last year. D-line, edge rushers. But I feel like they have improved a little bit. I mean, get it. They haven't played, all world breakers lately. But I think they have improved with Farrell and Bryce Huff and Keon White. So I feel like it's definitely a weak link. But I'm going to go with that O-line, man. I mean, if they can't protect Purdy, I feel like specifically Jake Brendel in the center, his inability, communication wise, and if he plays a stinker game like a Jake Brendel game, I know he's rated high on PFF, but you watch the film, sometimes you're like, what is he doing? And that O-line, they took a hit with Ben Barch. They tried to make him that starting guard. He's hurt. He's on the injured reserve. And you got Burford in there. He was played better, but he's not a legit starter overall. And he's getting thrown in there. It's a patchwork O-line. McKivitz has been up and down. If they can't protect Purdy, I mean, he's going to get hurt, right? So that's scary to me. And, we're going to be playing some elite defenses in the playoffs, right? We got Micah Parsons coming up. We know the Rams have a really good D-line. So, and the Eagles, as bad as their offense is, that defense kept them in that game yesterday. So, O-line's going to have a real big test coming up in the next couple of weeks when the playoffs come. It's about the trenches. I do feel like the O-line's going to be one of their top, issues moving forward. You got to protect. You got to be able to block for Christian McCaffrey. You mentioned it early. Their yards per carry are pretty low this year, but they're still finding ways. Definitely think O-line's a weak link along with the D-line. But also, too, just we were talking about wide receivers. if they just can't find that next guy to take that leap, like you said, that's a weakness in itself. So to me, those are
good. Those are all good. The Niners are 25th in the NFL in rush offense, 98.5 yards per game rush offense, despite having CMC. They're 25th in the NFL. So I think that offensive line question, that's my big question is, this is the time of year where, man, it's time to run the ball. It's cold, and it's hard to win in some of these places, and you're going to have to maybe go on the road, and you're going to have to run the ball. And if you're 25th in the NFL and you can't run the ball and it's all on Purdy and these, receivers, it's a dicey proposition, I think, at best. I mean, I'm not saying it's game over, but it's going to be tough. And as far as what Akash said, 49ers have 16 sacks. They're dead last. They're 32nd in the NFL in sacks. I mean, Tennessee doesn't have an awesome pass rush, but they've got twice as many sacks. They've got 32. The Niners have 16. It's the Niners' lack of pass rush is absolutely a factor. And I either one of those is great. I'm going to go with the 49ers are 25th in the NFL. And this might be a little bit tied to the pass rush, but 25th in the NFL in pass defense. And specifically, my concern is at linebacker. I just feel like Gifford is a circus as a coverage linebacker. And then look at this linebacking core. They just, Nick Martin, is Nick Martin going to do anything? And now that he's on the concussion protocol, it seems like no. Sure. And they brought in Garrett Wallow. He's a true special teamer. Curtis Robinson's body's getting broken up. Every week that goes by, he's more and more dinged up. Gifford is not 100% physically, but he's getting exposed. And then D. Winters was a really good coverage linebacker, but he's banged up. And Tatum Bethune at full strength can be decent, but he's not known for coverage. And now he's banged up. So they don't have a linebacker that can cover, and watching Gifford just get toasted, that's a concern. And then now you introduce this veteran to the mix, Kendricks. And, I like Kendricks. I think he's a good addition, but what are the numbers say on him? I looked at him before the show. His numbers last year in Dallas were pretty good against the run. Against the pass, he was rough. He got worked pretty good. I won't cite it, but it's big. He gave up a lot of pass yards. So he's not really a pass defender anymore. So that's my concern, is that the Niners, who had the best pass defensive, player in Fred Warner, now don't have him. And all the players that potentially could have been a reasonable facsimile of him, Jalen Graham, Nick Martin, they're just not there. And I just feel like their linebackers, when push comes to shove, are going to get burnt in pass coverage. What do you guys think?
That's a good call. Yeah, especially Gifford. I mean, coverage has been where the Niners have been getting beat. And, losing Fred Warner is not easy to replace. Like, they've tried hard. Players have played admirably. Like Tatum Bethune, he's had some big games. D. Winters, early in the season, we were ready to crown him as the next Navarro Bowman, but he kind of came down to earth a little bit. They were making nicknames of D. Winters and Fred Warner early in the season, but that's definitely a tough spot. And players have great tight ends now in the league. They go over the middle. The screen game, like whenever we play the Rams, that screen game comes up to bite us half the time. And if you don't have Fred Warner in the middle patrolling, it's not going to be easy. So I agree with that take. I think that's a good take. Linebackers are going to be tough to step up and recreate what Fred Warner does. But I'm intrigued with Eric Kendricks. I think, he's going to be hungry. He's going to bring some good veteran presence. But, yeah, linebackers definitely have taken a hit, just like the defensive line when you lost Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. So it makes sense to me.
Can't be worse than Curtis Robinson. I mean, I know he's the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Cool stories, come back from injury. But at the same time, he's been a third, an excellent special teamer, a third string backer for this team for a couple years now. Obviously, the injuries are the reason he's here. And so I imagine Eric Kendricks is probably an upgrade over Robinson. So I would expect Kendricks to start coming out of the bye, especially if Bethune is still out. So I would imagine their starting duo is probably Kendricks and Winters. So at least there's a veteran presence there. I feel like a lot of the coverage issues that you alluded to in pass defense is just a young secondary, young defense, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of coverage busts, a lot of yards given up that way. I feel like actually their secondary players are actually pretty good in coverage, right? Diamador Lenore, Upton Stout's been just right there in coverage on a lot of plays. Renardo Green's had an up and down sophomore year, but I would say for the most part, their secondary players are just in individual coverage have been good this season. It's just been some of those like just miscommunications, especially with like bunches and trips formations and just certain things that they get beat on. And it's just kind of what you live and die with younger defenders who, just haven't played together as much and are kind of learning how to play in the NFL.
We're 30 minutes into our live stream. We're really pleased to have Akash with us tonight. And of course, Avaranthan, is that the correct pronunciation of the last name?
Anavarathan. Yeah, close.
Anavarathan. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
And Raj Melwani.
Man.
No disrespect to Raj.
No.
There's this guy that I follow on X. Here he is. And he's got lines for the key NFC contenders this week. And I want to hit this, but first let me just tell people 49er football season on the Krug Show all season long, presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chats, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, Akash, you have the lines up here from the games, and this is a good one because we're at that point of the year where I'm getting this at the grocery store. I'm getting this when I'm picking up my kid. Anybody who sees me is like, "Hey, man, who should we be rooting for this weekend? Could you? I'm trying to figure out who I should be rooting for. So why don't we get into that? As a Niner fan that wants to see the 49ers get the highest seed, who are we rooting for? I mean, obviously we're rooting for Browns against Bears and that kind of thing. But like in Rams, Lions, Packers, Broncos, we're rooting for Broncos. But in Rams, Lions, are we rooting for the Rams? Are we rooting for the Lions? That's a tough one because it's like you want to catch the Rams, but you don't want to get run over by the Lions.
Exactly. It's funny because I maybe posted their playoff odds like earlier in the week. So if the Rams beat the Lions, it actually increases the 49ers playoff odds because they further separate from the Lions, but it decreases their chance of winning the division. So it's kind of funny. So if you root for the Lions and let's say the Lions win, now all of a sudden, let's assume the 49ers win this week. The Lions are just a game back of the 49ers in just the wild card race, but maybe the Niners are closer to the Rams in the divisional race. So it's tough. I would root for the Rams this week. I would just want the Rams to put the Lions away, put the Lions to bed. Because the following week, the Rams go to Seattle on a Thursday night short week. And in that game, you're rooting for Seattle to beat the Rams because of divisional tiebreakers. So that's kind of the rooting guide here over the next few weeks. You want the Rams to win this week.
Akash, don't the Lions have either a Week 17 or Week 18 game against a team that we want them to beat? Don't they?
Yeah, they play the Bears Week 18, I believe.
Yeah, don't. So, and then you know what? The simplicity of Dan Campbell's personality. It may not matter. They may just go. They may even be more dangerous if they're eliminated than if they're not.
They did that 2 years ago. They knocked off the Packers on the road in Aaron Rodgers' last start in Green Bay. And I think the Packers had a chance to win that division, if I remember correctly. So they've done that before.
Who do you think wins these games? I'll go Bears, Lions, Seahawks, Broncos.
I think the Bears win. I think the Bears are for real. I think they're a really good team. I think their rushing offense is fantastic. I think Ben Johnson's been excellent. That defense has kind of come into its own a little bit. I think the Rams win. I just don't think the Lions defense is good enough to slow the Rams down. I think that should be like a high scoring game. I think the Seahawks win in big fashion. Just the quarterbacks they've played over the last month is just a joke. They played Max Brosmer a couple weeks ago. They played Kirk Cousins. They're probably going to get Phillip Rivers this week. It's unbelievable the teams they've played. And everyone talks about how the Niners have a joke of a schedule.
Do you guys believe in the Seahawks? Because I really don't. Maybe it's because the Niners beat them in week 1. Maybe it's because Darnold, every time it's a big moment, seems to turn it over in mass. But there's just something about the Seahawks. I do not fear going there. Purdy's never lost there. I've talked to Dave Softy Mahler about that fan base all the time. He's like, something happened up here. I mean, they had the 12s and all that. That's a old, tired deal. That's not a tough place to play anymore. It's not nearly what it used to be. I'm not sure why, but if the Niners go there, I expect to see a sea of red, and I expect the 49ers to win by 10.
There is gonna be a sea of red, Larry, because they're playing here in Levi's that final game of the season.
Actually. No, but I'm just saying, if the Niners have to go up there in the playoffs, yeah, I don't fear going there. Do you guys? I don't think Seattle. I know Seattle on paper looks awesome, and McDonald's a great defensive coach. I love some of their secondary, and they got Julian Love back this week. God knows he's awesome. But I don't know. I mean, it's a JSN. I know now they got Rashid Shaheed, but it's a JSN centric offense, and I just don't believe that much in Darnold. It seems like if you pressure him, he turns it over.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I should have more respect for Seattle, but I just don't. I just feel like the Niners can beat them.
No, I agree. I think Sam Darnold, he is what he is in the playoffs. He's never proven himself there. Like, good regular season. He's turned his career around, happy for the guy. But Kyle Shanahan knows how to play Sam Darnold. I think we could beat him. And I'm not really, honestly, I don't really think there's real one team that I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to play them. And the NFC is wide open. I don't feel like there's a juggernaut team. I think the Niners can beat anybody. And Niners are going to travel wherever they got to play. And that's a big factor. Wherever they got to play, there's going to be Niner fans in abundance, and it's probably going to be almost a home game, especially if it's LA. But Seattle, I'm not too worried about them. I think the Niners can beat them. I think they can beat them on the road. I think they can beat them at home. The defense, and I think Akash said this, they haven't really played a true quarterback in the last couple of weeks. And if they play Phillip Rivers this week, I mean, come on, it's a gift. It's a gift to them. So, no hate on Phillip Rivers, but he hasn't played since 2000
Right.
COVID year. Like, that's crazy, man.
It's one of the craziest stories of our lifetime, really, in the NFL.
Wow. It actually is so wild. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. When I saw that today, I was like, "Are you kidding me, Phillip Rivers?" There's a stat out there. His oldest daughter is older than half some of the rookies in the league. I think Tyler Warren, their star rookie tight end on the Colts, his daughter's older than him. It's crazy to me.
I mean, it's just I love Phillip Rivers, but guys, if I do this every day, if I take a weekend off, I'm like, what am I doing? What buttons am I pressing?
He's taking 5 years off.
If imagine taking 5 years off, I wouldn't even be able to find the room where I'm broadcasting from. I'd be like, where is that? I forget where it was. I mean, come on, man. And not only that, he's 44 years old, and in all non-Tom Brady bodies, that means a lot.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady is so much the exception there that I think Rivers will not finish even one game. That would be my prediction. I don't think you can sit at home at 44 and then step in and NFL. I mean, all these it's a young man's game. You got no, cannot. I don't buy it. What do you guys think we're going to see? Is Rivers going to play this week, or is he's not going to play till next week, or what do you think their plan is?
I could see him playing this week just because they're the backup Riley Leonard's. I think he's battling a knee injury, so I don't know who they have behind that guy. So I could see Phillip Rivers starting this week, which is crazy to say, and that's just a brutal ask for a 44-year-old. You're going to Seattle, where it's probably going to be like 30, 40 degrees. You're outside up against probably one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, and they're going to be coming after him. They're going to be hitting him. That's probably the first time he's been hit like that in 5 years. So it's crazy, but I will say it's a huge break for the 49ers because that game going to Indianapolis on Monday night, when you looked at the schedule a couple weeks ago, looked pretty difficult, right? The Colts were humming. Their offense, led by Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones, just looked explostive. And now you take away Daniel Jones, you put in Phillip Rivers. That the complexity of that game changes. I bet the Niners are probably favored going into that Indianapolis game, especially if they beat the Titans. So just crazy how the league changes from a week to week basis.
Let's hit some quick hitters here. The Niners open the practice window for Curtis Rourke. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is he something? Is he nothing? Is he NFL backup, NFL starter, NFL star, Hall of Famer, greatest of all time? What's Curtis Rourke?
Definitely not the greatest of all time, but I think
not the greatest. Are you sure you're going to go out on that limb?
I mean, maybe. You never know. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Hopefully he's listening.
That would be awesome if he proved you wrong on something like that.
I hope he does. But yeah, they got Mac Jones, and the rumors are they might trade him this offseason. There's a lot of teams that need a quarterback. Vikings, Saints, Jets, a lot of teams need a quarterback this offseason, Larry. And I think the Niners are going to get a lot of calls. I know we want to keep Mac around, but John Lynch this morning on the TK show, he did discuss a little bit, and he goes, "Hey, we want to keep him around, but it's a business. If we get an offer, it's something we're going to have to take a look at." So there's definitely possibility of getting rid of Mac Jones. And now if you see this guy, he's got 3 weeks to practice and get integrated and learn the offense and kind of learn the nuances before training camp next year. He's going to get his feet wet, and it's good practice for him. And, if you trade Mac Jones, this might be your QB2 in the future. So, I'm excited to see what this guy can do. You definitely need a good backup. Mac's tough to lose if we do lose him this offseason, but if they're offering him a day 2 pick for Mac Jones, man, you can't deny that. And, he deserves a start. He's proven himself this year. I think he's done good enough to show that, hey, I can go get a starting job and earn a lot of money this offseason.
I mean, one thing to jump in on that, your comment there. To me, don't call it a day 2 pick, because reality is you can keep Mac Jones and let him walk after that and get a day 2 pick, a round 3 pick.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I think that the price tag has to be a second round pick, and probably a second round pick and a
plus
player.
Something.
Or like a second and a fourth, second and a fifth, second and or second and a player, because of that. Mac Jones has got greater value, because otherwise just keep him, especially at $7 million. It's a steal.
It's a bargain, but he's going to want to get paid. Like, if a team's going to offer him to start and he can make $20 million compared to 7, you got to give him that opportunity. He played his ass off for us this year.
I agree.
I don't want to lose him, because you're right. If Purdy goes down, look at the job he did. So, and can Curtis Rourke do that again? That's the question.
And they're going to have 3 weeks now to find out, because I don't think they're going to activate him from the NFI list and, sacrifice that 53-man roster spot. So he's going to have 3 weeks in this as his practice windows opened to show to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, like, hey, I'm good enough to be the backup quarterback. And that'll hopefully give them some clarity on what they can do with Mac Jones, because they got to fill that backup quarterback spot with someone reliable, because Brock Purdy just, he's battled injuries, right? He's had the elbow injury. He battled injuries last season, has had the turf toe. So he's missed games now multiple years. And the 49ers have had capable backup. They had Sam Darnold a couple seasons ago, Mac Jones filling in. And they need just somebody just in the event Purdy goes down. Yeah. And so they need to know that Rourke can at least step in and kind of just handle the offense. And so that's kind of what you're looking for. You're hoping he can just be a backup quarterback for you. Anything you get on top of that is found money, in my opinion.
Yeah. Jayvon Baker, something or nothing. They picked him up today. They put him on the practice squad. Raj, I saw you put a picture of him out when you talked about the workout. Are you a fan of Jayvon Baker? He played at Central Florida. He started at Alabama. I mean, once upon a time, he's a 4-star recruit. He went in the 4th round to New England. What do you guys think of Jayvon Baker? Is that something? Is that nothing? What do you think?
It's a guy you can develop. You keep him on the practice squad. He's a developmental player. I don't think anything of him this year, but he has talent. 4th round pick. Kyle Shanahan system. You see what he can go. I mean, again, we talked about receivers earlier. Jacob Cowing, he hasn't really proven himself yet. Jordan Watkins, we don't know. You got a bunch of young guys you got to develop, because after this season, we talked about earlier, Brandon Aiyuk, he's probably gone. Jayvon Jennings, he's played great over the last month. 4 touchdowns, over 20 catches, 200 yards. He's playing for a contract now, so you might lose Jayvon Jennings. You need to start collecting bodies and thinking about the future, as well as trying to win and get the Super Bowl. But I think he's a guy that you can hopefully develop and maybe bring into this roster. The quote he had when he was drafted by the Patriots, he says, "I'm going to get your popcorn. I make people in wheelchairs stand up." So we'll see. He's got some talent. I like that.
I think there's a big picture.
It's always nice to have confidence.
Yeah.
Yes. I just think there's a big picture view from the 49ers. This is the type of guy that you sign to, like a futures contract in the right after the season ends. He's on your 90-man roster going into next year. It gives him this time to learn the offense, work with the receivers coach, the receiving group, and just get a little bit more familiar, give him a head start for next year. And you hope he can fill a role for you, whether that's on the practice squad or the 53-man roster. So just a big picture move. The 49ers had him in on a 30 visit last year, so they had some interest pre-draft. And so, yeah, just a good opportunity to bring someone that can hopefully contribute for you next season.
I like him a lot. You know, there's receivers. The receivers are a really interesting position to evaluate. Some guys are faster than their 40. Some guys are slower than their 40. That's just reality. You have to watch it. This guy is what I would call field fast. Like, he ran for the stopwatch like 4 or 5 something. But when you watch him and you watched his highlights, he looks like a 4.4 guy. I mean, he really does move really well. So I'm not sure why that is, but that's something to look for. I think he's interesting. All right. CMC, great year or disappointing year? You know what I mean? It's like, on one hand, he leads the NFL in touches. He's 5th in receptions with 85. He's 3rd in rush attempts with 237. But he's only averaging 3.6 a carry. He's had like 10 games under 4 yards a carry. He's had like 5 games under 3 yards a carry. Is that on the O-line? Is that on the lack of speed at receiver? We kind of hit on these things before. But CMC, when you talk about his 2025, is this like an epic all-time great year for CMC, MVP, that kind of thing? Or are we watching an awesome player who's seeing the ball a lot, but he's actually in a little bit of decline? What do you guys think?
I think it's an awesome season. I mean, there's only a handful of guys that have gone for 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards, and Christian McCaffrey is on track to be the only player to do that twice in a career. So I think it's an awesome season, mostly from the standpoint that he's got this insane workload, and everybody around him seems to be either getting hurt or being, playing inconsistent, but he has shouldered this insane workload and basically carried this offense. And I know his yards per carry numbers are down. The explosive runs are down. I think, there was this whole discussion in the offseason, like, has he lost a step or whatever? Clearly, he's not the same athlete that he was 2 seasons ago in 23 when he was an MVP candidate, right? And it makes sense. He's just a couple years older. He's had, the Achilles calf injuries. Like, he's just not the same athlete. But the fact that he's this durable, that he's this reliable, and he's this chess piece that Kyle Shanahan relies on, it's unbelievable to watch, right? I think if he's hurt, but you still have the rest of the guys, I don't know how this offense looks. But the fact that they've had Christian McCaffrey the entire season, and you've been able to just patchwork Kendrick Bournes and Jake Tonjes and all these guys is a testament to how good he is and how much attention he draws from defenses. And he's just the amount of times he's touched the ball. It's just awesome to see.
Go ahead, Raj.
Yeah, no, I mean, CMC might be the only player in NFL history to take the Madden curse and reverse it. This man's bad. Listen, you could say he's lost a step. He's old. I mean, he's older, right? You get a little slower when you're older. But I mean, to sit there and carry the ball the amount he had, over 800 yards receiving as a running back is crazy. He's done like the Debo role. He's doing everything he can. And if you were to tell me at the beginning of the season, Chris McCaffrey is going to be carrying the ball 30 times a game or touching the ball like 30 times a game, and he's going to be the healthiest on your team. Fred Warner's injured, Nick Bosa, I would told you you're crazy. This man is the offense. He's carrying this team. I mean, you take away Christian McCaffrey, they're not winning games. They're not winning games. I'm telling you, man. This guy is the pulse of the offense. I get it. He's not averaging a big, bunch of yards. He's not having those explosive plays, but he's having big plays. I mean, you give him the ball, he's going to get a first down most of the time. You know he's going to catch the ball. And the things he's doing, like the season he's having is historical. He's leading the league in like scrimmage yards. He's top 10 in receiving yards. He's one of the top rushers in the league, despite, teams knowing he's going to get the ball. Christian McCaffrey's having a historic year, man. I don't want to hear anything other than that. This man flipped the Madden curse on its back, Larry. He's tearing it up.
So neither of you think he's in decline. No,
I didn't say that. But,
well, I mean, there are people that are like, he's lost a step. I don't see a lost step. I see more of a lost line. I think the line in front of him could be better. I still see the same. I see a guy that has a hard time getting through the line of scrimmage. But to me, one of the best things about McCaffrey is how they're utilizing him now, which is they know he's having a hard time getting through the line of scrimmage. So now they're just running him through the line of scrimmage and letting him have that option route 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, and he is deadly on that route because he can make you miss. And if him and Purdy know which way he's going to cut and they can throw a stop route pattern, it's almost unstoppable on any kind of short yardage situation. I love CMC on that through the line of scrimmage route. He seems almost borderline uncoverable. All right. Last thought before we hit our supers and bolt. How's this thing going to end? Let's put our viewpoints out there. I will go first and say, I think the 49ers are actually getting guys back after the bye that nobody's talking about that are huge. Okay. Nobody at all is talking about, you can hear all kinds of people talking about the Niners. Nobody is saying anything about who's coming back after the bye. But guess what? Eddie Piñeiro's coming back, and he's damn good. Yatir Gross-Matos is having an all-time year as an interior rusher. He's coming back. He's way better than people think. Sam Aquinu had just hit the ground. He had just started to really ball, and he's coming back, and he's going to be fresh, and I think that's going to help. And Tatum Bethune, I think, is going to come back and play well, especially after getting that taste of it early on. These are 4 really underrated guys that nobody talks about. It's going to make the 49ers a better player. They're going to run the table in the regular season, and I think they're likely to win in the first round, probably lose in the division round, but they got a shot. They got more than a puncher's shot at taking this thing to Levi's for Super Bowl 60. That's what I'll throw out there. I don't think they can beat the Rams. Like they're going to need some good fortune. Like I think somebody's going to have to draw the Rams and beat them because I just don't think the Niners can do it. I just don't believe they can put enough pressure on Stafford. Stafford's too good. The Niners are too young. There's no pass rush. It just doesn't add up. They got the miracle night with Mac Jones in week 5 or whatever. No, it can't happen again. I would say to avoid the Rams, but that's possible. And I see a big 2 showdowns coming, Niners-Bears. The one at Levi's coming up, and then I think a rematch maybe at Soldier in the playoffs. And I think the Niners are going to beat the Bears both times. And I like the Niners to have a shot at the Super Bowl, at least. I think likely going down in the division round, but a shot to go to the Super Bowl. Oh. Give me what you guys see.
I like that. I think the Niners aren't going to run the table in the regular season. I think they're going to go 3-1. I think they're going to win these next 2 games against the Titans and the Colts. They're going to handle business. They're going to go 1-1 against the Bears and Seahawks in some fashion. Either they're going to beat the Bears, lose to the Seahawks, or they're going to lose to the Bears and follow that up with a win against the Seahawks to close out the season. I think they're probably not winning this division. If I had to guess, my money would be on Seattle, just because the Rams probably have a little bit of a tougher schedule than the Seahawks do. And so the Niners, I think, are going to be a wild card. I think they've positioned themselves with their NFC record, their divisional record, and some of the tiebreakers they have to be either the 5 or the 6 seed. So they're likely going to play either the NFC East division winner or the NFC South division winner. So you're catching either Philly, Tampa, or Carolina wild card round. And I like that matchup. I think the 49ers match up well against those 3 teams. They've obviously beaten Carolina. Tampa's kind of fallen off since they played earlier in the season. Baker just hasn't looked as good. That defense hasn't been as stingy as it has been previously. So I think they can beat any of those teams wildcard weekend. And then it gets tough. It's going to be tough against Green Bay, the Rams, or Seattle, to be honest. I think they can beat them, right? Just you've got Kyle Shanahan, you've got Robert Saleh, you have a coaching advantage, and you've got a lot of vets on this team. So puncher's chance against anybody, but it's going to be a tough ask to go on the road and win in Green Bay, or LA is more of a home game, but and it's indoors. But I think they lose in the divisional round too, to one of those teams. But I think they get into the playoffs, they get a win, and I'd consider that a successful season given everything that's happened.
I got the script right here in front of me, guys.
What, tell us, read it to us.
Niners are going to win out four games in a row. They're going to get the number 1 seed. And guess what? When you're the number 1 seed, you're playing home games at Levi Stadium. And your quest to Levi Stadium runs through Levi Stadium. Niners are making the Super Bowl. It's in the script. I'm telling you guys. I don't fear anybody in the NFC.
You fear no man.
Fear nobody. Listen, even if we don't win out and we have to go on the road, LA's a home game. Every game is going to be a home game because the Niner fans are packing those stadiums. But I do 100% think Niners are going to win out, and somehow Lions are going to maybe beat the Rams. Seattle's going to lose a game. Well, obviously to us if we win out, and then you're going to have maybe Green Bay lose a game or two. Chicago's got a tough schedule. Everybody's got a pretty tough schedule. They're all going to lose a game. Niners are taking this number 1 seed. They're going to run it to Levi Stadium. And then guess who's coming back for the Super Bowl? Fred Warner, 54. It's Super Bowl weekend. That's what I feel is happening. I don't know.
Wow.
Good feeling. That's what's
wow,
happening.
that would be something. I would love Niners Patriots. And if Fred wants to come back, that's great.
Yeah.
As far as my biggest fear, this is it right here. My biggest fear is the Bears' interior offensive line. Theo Benedette, I don't know much. Ozzie Patrapio was in there for a couple weeks ago, but Joe Thuney, Hall of Fame type offensive lineman, really been playing at a really high level. Jonah Jackson came over, former Lion, former Ram. They're Darnell Wright is a big road grader. They got a really big, physical, great drive blocking offensive line. They got 2 fresh backs and Swift and Monangi, and I've had Monangi on the fantasy team. I'm a big fan of his out of Rutgers. I was hoping the Niners would get him in the draft. He went in the 7th, 2 rounds after Jordan James, for those of you who are keeping track. But that's what I fear the most is these guys, the Bears offensive line, Ben Johnson and this Bears offensive line. If the Niners are struggling to stop the run, and last week against the Browns, Jenkins had some 7-yard runs on first down. Sampson had some runs. It's like they're not really stopping the run, really. And now here comes Monangi and Swift and this line, and I'm afraid that this thing could drive the 49er defensive line into the ground. Now, conversely, this Bears defensive line, if you look at their numbers, like of the last 7 games they've played, 5 of the teams have gone for over 5 yards a carry. So people are running it on this Bears front. So this is not Buddy Ryan's 46 defense, even though Montez Sweat is a good rusher and Booker's an interesting rusher. Grady Jarrett's a really great player, but he's older. They have some really interesting players here. Byard is a ball hawk. Jalen Johnson. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a great pickup. I wish the Niners had made that pickup. But the Bears, I don't think, are much defensively against the run. I think the Niners can run it down their throat, but I'm worried about the Bears running it down the Niners' throat.
Oh, yeah.
What is your guys' biggest fears as far as it doesn't have to be the Bears, it could be any team. Standing between the Niners and the Super Bowl, I'm worried about the Bears' offensive line. What stands out to you guys?
I think that and Akash said this earlier, in the playoffs, I'm not worried about Stafford. Everybody's scared of big bad Stafford. I just think, can the Niners muster enough pass rush? Can we, like those quarterbacks, right? Jordan Love and everybody, we got to be able to get to them. And if we can't get to them and force turnovers, we're not beating any of these teams. So I feel like that to me is going to be the biggest factor in the playoffs. You got to get to a quarterback. I'm glad we're getting Sam O back and, a couple other people, but you said YGM's having all class. It was a world pro.
Well, I mean, they've been talking about this guy as a 5-star recruit and as a, the guy is, is exactly physically what you want, right? Long arms, powerful, incredibly athletic, since he was at Penn State. The potential. This year with Mikkel, those guys were really good rushing the passer on the interior, and he can't stay healthy. Now,
that's the problem.
If he can stay healthy, and we only need 4 or 5 games in the regular season, couple, some playoff games, but it's there for Yatir Gross-Matos and Samo and Bethune and Pinheiro. I just think they're 4 If you go look at this year, they're 4 of the most underrated 49ers who all produced way more than any of us thought they would in training camp.
100%. I'm just saying YGM. I just don't know.
I know, you're not a YGM guy.
He's like Ben Barch to me. I never thought he was going to stay healthy. So if YGM could squeeze out 4 games for us, great. But I don't think it's going to happen.
It's a tall ask. I'll give you that.
It is. Yeah. It is. In terms of my fears, the Bears' offensive line is a great one. They've got Midwest Kyle Shanahan calling plays. That's what I like to call Ben Johnson, just because they both have the same mentality, which is we just want to run it down your throat and play defense. And Ben Johnson, especially if they start to lean on the 49ers defense, won't be scared to just keep running the ball. And I'm worried that game, depending on how the game script looks, could turn one-dimensional, where the Bears are just running it down their throat. The 49ers offense just maybe doesn't get off the mat quick enough, or maybe they turn the ball over because the Bears defense leads the NFL in takeaways. All of a sudden, the game script just kind of falls into Ben Johnson's hand, where they just kind of run it all over the Niners. I could see that. Seattle's defense is scary. I know Nick Emenwari, their rookie safety, is
what a
really
game he had last week.
Yeah, he's kind of like Kyle Hamilton for Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, right? Their defensive line is just all over the place. So that defense is going to be flying around. It's going to be a huge challenge for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. I know Mike McDonald's presented some challenge in the past, right?
Yeah.
And then playoffs wise, I think it's going to be the Rams. It's going to be the Rams 13 personnel. It's that personnel grouping they've kind of leaned on ever since Puka Nacua got hurt. And even after he's come back, they've leaned on it, and they throw out of that personnel grouping a lot. And I just don't think the Niners have the defensive personnel to match up against 3 tight ends. They just don't have enough backers and safeties to cover. And I think it's just kind of a mismatch. So those are kind of the things I fear come playoff time. But you got Kyle Shanahan, you got Robert Saleh, you got a chance. And that's all I can ask for.
Yeah. They got a shot. They got a shot. As far as how good of a shot, what happened? I just hit the wrong button. Hold on. How good of a shot, I'll give them a little bit more than a puncher's shot. Like a puncher's shot is just like, it's a real long shot. I think they got a little bit more than a real long shot. And now, granted, we're standing here, it's December 9th. We're projecting, or at least I'm projecting them to run the table. So let's see. I mean, that's a big projection, right? And if they do run the table, man, there will be a lot of excitement going into the playoffs for sure. And yet that's going to be, I hope they can stay focused even if they run the table. To me, their biggest concern outside of other teams is their own internal focus. Can they just focus for, 4 more games, run the table, and still have that focus to, if they're not the 1 seed, to go on the road potentially in the NFC. I will say this, though. There's a chance that like every one of these teams in the NFC, Eagles, you name it, Bucks, Panthers, Bears, Lions, all of the other teams, even Rams, there's a chance that these teams they'll get to the playoffs and they just won't fire. Yeah. They'll get to the playoffs and Sam Darnold throws 3 picks and, whatever. I just don't feel like the Niners this year are going to be that team. I feel like whatever they got, they're going to give you. They ain't going out easy. Yeah. It's it's going to be you're not going to blow them out. They're very prideful. They're going to give you a good fight. They may not win it, but they're not going to like no show and be like, oh wow, they got blown out because no, I don't think so. All right, last thought, and then we'll get out of here. We're brought to you by Habbas Law. Thanks to Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. Visit them on the web, habbaslaw.com, HABBAS law.com. Habbas Law, they will fight to make it right. Great lawyers. If you're in a bind and you need someone, you're injured and you want to win, there's only one call to make, and that's Habbas Law. habbaslaw.com. They're fantastic. All right. And they bring us our supers here at the end of the show. And let's roll through them. We have 5 supers. Thank you to the people. Maybe 4, because I put this comment up here. We got this one from Sunstripe. Did Larry unblock that innocent dude from earlier? Larry only blocks. Larry never unblocks. That would be something. Now, Kev may unblock when I'm not looking. But Larry never unblocks. It's strictly a block. It's That's all I can say about that. I don't block a lot, but when I do, I date and marry for life, and I block for life. There you go. PWS says thoughts on the draft lottery and the San Francisco Giants getting the pick number 4. I don't know. It's like baseball. The guy who runs baseball is such a jackass that he has no original ideas. So all he can do is steal from the other sports and try to recreate things that work in other sports. There was zero buzz for the draft lottery. The Giants should have gotten the 15th pick in the first round. They somehow moved up to number 4. I'm glad they did. Randy Wynn represented them at the draft. I don't know how he did it, but God bless Randy Wynn. It's a huge, huge move for the Giants, a huge break, because a top 4 pick can be a franchise-altering player in the baseball draft. Usually franchise-altering players, there's usually not more than 8 or 9 of them at the top of any draft. So usually if you pick at 15, you're not, you're getting just a pretty good player. Or if you pick in the top 5, you might get Buster Posey, right? You might get Bryce Harper or something like that. So it is a major thing for the Giants. So way to go, Giants. But how they did it, or the whole baseball lottery, I don't know. Do you guys have I know you're more football, but do you have a thought on the Giants moving up in the draft lottery?
I saw they mocked someone named a shortstop named LeBron.
I saw that. Yeah, he's from like a Arkansas or something. Or
somewhere from the SEC. Yeah,
SEC shortstop junior coming out. We'll see. Kid Trickster. Oh wait, we always got to be careful with Kid Trickster. He will throw us. Oh wait a second. Let's see. Love Jayvon Baker on the Niners. Not going to lie, I still don't love him as much as I loved his college teammate, the defensive end. Hugh J. Rection. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Thanks, Kid Trickster. Good to see you still got it. Anthony Catania's in the house. Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, a sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to them. Give Anthony a call. He's at 831-521-5264. He says it's a new season starting Sunday. 0-0. Go 4-0. You're the number 1 seed. Let's effing go. Now, I don't know if that's true, if the Niners do go 4-0, the Rams have to lose once, but the Rams have a couple, tough games. And the Packers also would have to lose once, but the Packers have a couple tough games. So I kind of do think the Rams and Packers are likely to lose once. So I kind of agree that if they go 4-0, they're going to be the number 1 seed. But let's not put it out there like it's,
that's all they have to do.
Right. It's they got to go 4-0 and then
get some help.
You need a little bit of help, but it's happening. Yeah. Anthony Catania he knows ball.
He knows what he's talking about.
Knows ball.
We got this one from Cass. Love the show. My mom's a diehard Niners fan and has never been to a game. I surprised her. We are going to the game Sunday.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that is cool. That's cool. Any suggestions to make their game day experience better? Raj, you go all the time. Akash, I don't know how often do you go to the games? I know you're
a couple times a year.
So what do you think? For somebody who's never gone, is there a suggestion that we can throw her way that would make her day better? I guess I would say this. It's going to be really a cold one. So it's not like it's, early in the year. It's like, oh, man, bring your sunscreen, bring some sunglasses. Especially if you're on the sun side, it's brutal. You won't have to worry about that, but you still may have some sun in your eyes. So if you're light sensitive or sun sensitive, definitely bring a hat or some glasses. I would say maybe some binoculars, because some of those seats are far away. If you have binoculars, I definitely would bring some binocs.
I'd say get there early, try to get there for all the pregame festivities, watch all the players warm up, the pregame, like player announcements, national anthem, like get there early to watch all that stuff. And you're right. It gets cold this time of year, and especially down there, like the wind starts to swirl. It gets chilly. So I would definitely bundle up. And it's just gotten way colder here in the Bay Area in the last couple weeks.
Dude, I'm battling a cold right now, but I got to say, this is one of the coldest December. Now, granted, we're wusses because it's California, but this is one of the coldest Northern California Decembers I can ever remember. It's like 35, 40 degrees, like regularly, and we're not used to it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. Get there early because
early.
That's the best advice I give you. You want to enjoy especially if you haven't been to a game, you want to like see all the sights and sounds and see what people are doing. And if you don't get there early, because it depends on how you're getting there. Are you driving? Are you taking a VTA? How are you getting there? You always want to have time because you just never know, especially if you're driving there. Getting to park and stuff can be a
lot slower. Yeah.
So get there. Plan on leaving a couple hours early. The gates open 3 hours before the game starts. So try to be there around that time. Trust me, it goes by fast by doing all that. And plus, if you get there early, it's easier to get food. You get there later, and if you're hungry, you're kind of SOL.
Check your weather too, because you know what? If you're not going to be happy if it's raining. And all I would say is if it is going to be one of those rain days, spend the $5 in the parking lot and buy that whatever, one of those things. They sell you those like see-through ponchos in the parking lot sometimes. That's, believe it or not, those are great. Those are perfect. You sit there, you don't get wet, you're under a poncho, you love it. Last couple ones here. We got this one from PWS. Thoughts on Barry Bonds not making the Hall of Fame again? It's a popularity contest. I mean, it's a mess. The thing's a mess. There's steroid users that are in, there's clean guys that are out with steroid suspicions. We've got, guys like Jeff Kent who were Barry Bonds was intentionally walked so teams could pitch to Jeff Kent. And now Jeff Kent's in the Hall of Fame and Barry Bonds is not. This would be like if Joe Montana wasn't in Canton, but Jeff Garcia was. I mean, it's like, what? Make it make sense. So we understand the performance-enhancing drugs, but I mean, I talked to Greg Papa about this earlier in the week. The same fans who are like, oh my God, Barry Bonds used steroids. He's the Antichrist. Don't think anything of it that the Carolina Panthers went to Super Bowl 60 with 4/5 of their offensive linemen getting busted for using performance-enhancing drugs. Nobody cares at all in football. And Greg brought it up. He's like, how come we don't care about performance-enhancing drugs in football, but we think it's like the worst thing ever in baseball? And it's like, it's all because of the baseball media and how it's been conditioned. And they've been dangling the Hall of Fame like it's some reward or some lifetime reward. And it's not. It should. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer, and he did performance-enhancing drugs. He wasn't a Hall of Famer because he did performance-enhancing drugs. He was a Hall of Famer, and he used performance-enhancing drugs. So he ought to be in. Roger Clemens, the same. Bud Selig, on the other hand, who presided over the era and watched his salary explode to over $50 million a year and has safely ensconced within the walls of the Hall of Fame because of his relationships. That's as dirty as dirty gets. He had more power to enact change within the sport as far as PEDs than Bonds, Clemens, or any player. And yet, so you cannot penalize, you can't let the commissioner slide into the Hall of Fame and frame the guys with all the talent. And that's what baseball's doing, and it's a disgrace. It's a mess. And there's only two kinds of people out there. There's the people that work in and around baseball, and they're not going to say anything because they're really advocates for baseball and don't want to speak out against it. And it's people that have moved on and don't care about baseball, and they don't care enough to keep talking about it. The only reason guys like me are saying it is because I love baseball, but I don't watch it anymore. I devote all my time to the Niners, and I mean, I watch it, but I'm not like diehard like I used to be because it's boring as shit, and the Giants are boring as shit, and their owners are cheap. And it's like, they bought an asset. If you told me, I got a buddy and he bought an asset and he bought it for $100 million and he bought it in 1992. And today it's worth $4 billion and it's going up by $200 million a year. And you're telling me that guy is bitching about costs. I'd call him a damn fool. And that's the Giants. They're sitting there. We're too cheap to do this. Cheap to improve our team. The Dodgers are doing circles around you, and you're sitting there with your. And I know I'm taking this in a totally different direction, but my point is just that baseball is a mess, and the Hall of Fame is a mess, and the fact that Harold Baines is in, and Jeff Kent is in, but Roger Clemens is out, Pete Rose is out, Barry Bonds is out. It's supposed to be a museum. Museums don't just remember the parts of history they enjoy. Museums represent the parts of history that they hate. They're still represented in the museum because it happened. It's history. Baseball never refunded any money, never denounced any of these records. So as far as they're concerned and we're concerned, it's all on the up and up. So how do you banish all these guys from the Hall of Fame when you took all the money and never disallowed the records? Yeah. I mean, that seems to me like select. And then you got David Ortiz. We like David Ortiz, and even though he's got known, accepted steroid connections, we like him. He's in. Oh, Barry Bonds, we don't like him. He's out. So the whole thing is a gigantic disaster, and it's all because of Bud Selig and his arrogance. He had no leadership. He wouldn't take the lead. He didn't make a statement on the era. He said nothing, and then just made sure he got in, and then left the thing a mess for everybody else. So
that's crazy.
There you go. Anyway, sorry for the dissertation. Boxing fan ×4. Couple last ones here. He says thoughts on FSU wide receiver Deuce Robinson and both linebackers from Pittsburgh, Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles. Deuce Robinson is a big 6'4", 220-pound receiver who's really got some gifts. I mean, very skilled, but he's a little stiff as far as a route runner. I don't know if he's going to be a NFL significant player or not. He reminds me a little bit of DK Metcalf. He's just not. I bet you he's no 3-cone. He's not going to light up the 3-cone. As far as the Pittsburgh guys, rugged linebackers. But I don't think they're day 1 or day 2 guys. I think they're day 3 guys. And then this we got that one. Okay, I think that's all of them. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Akash for stopping by. Akash, let me get this off the screen. Once again, Akash, tell people if they want to follow you, what's your handle on Twitter, and where's the best place to kind of they want to rock with you? Where's the best place to follow?
Of course, appreciate you for having me. Always good to talk Niners with you, Larry, and you, Raj, as well. I know we go back and forth on X or Instagram or whatever, but always good to chop it up with you guys. Can find me on X at first name AKASHANAV. That's where all the Niners content goes up, and looking forward to the rest of the season. Hope they run the table and we get a home Super Bowl.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Some years, we see it in sports. It's like, hey, they're supposed to do it. It doesn't happen, and then all of a sudden, when they're not supposed to do it, it happens. And maybe this could be that year, because I would say right now, to me, Super Bowl 23 was maybe the greatest Niners Super Bowl of all time. They were 10-6. They were 10-6, but they got absolutely hot as fish grease in the playoffs, and they rolled all the way through. And they didn't win the Super Bowl by a lot. It was tight, but they won. And I kind of see this year, the way Purdy's playing is motivated as Shanahan is, as great as Robert Saleh is, as positive as Brant Boyer has been. This team has a different dynamic this year. It kind of feels like when I'm in that locker room, guys, it has the feeling of there's a lot of good players in that room. There's a lot of guys who have gotten really close and been denied. They kind of have it all in perspective. And I just think that they're going to be a tough out. I don't know that they're going to win it, but they are going to be a tough out. And I think I thought Purdy found something last week. Shanahan wasn't willing to go with me. I said, this is one of Purdy's better performances. He's like, I don't think so. But I thought it was, because he had 7 throwaways.
Career
high. He's super aggressive. If he's willing to throw it away, I think he elevates the exact same way that Stafford has elevated this year by not throwing picks. Look at Stafford's career. He throws picks. Not this year. He's throwing it into the turf. And they're winning because of it. And I just feel like Brock Purdy's really smart. He's really good. And he showed some escapability last week. If he doesn't turn it over in mass, I think they can beat a lot of teams. So we'll see. We'll see. But he's got to take care of the better care of the football, and he did in this last game. We'll see if he can do it in the playoffs. All right, that is going to do it for us. Thanks to Akash. Thanks to Raj. Raj, great to see you, man. We'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks to all of you guys. I'm back with you tomorrow at 6 o'clock on KMBR for Niners Nightly. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you